A comet approaches Earth and a meteor shower lights up the sky. Let's take a look at what you can go out to see and image in the night sky for January of 2023. I'm Michael Martin, and this is Late Night Astronomy. We start off the new year with an impressive meteor shower, but this year it's going to be battling with the moon for your attention in January. The Quadrantids Meteor Shower is going to be peaking on the night of January 3rd into the early morning of January 4th. To see it, go outside around midnight on the night of January 3rd and face towards the northeast. Look for the constellations Draco and Bootes as they slowly rise into the night sky. It's from this part of the sky that the Quadrantids will appear to shoot from. Between the moon shining bright and the bitter cold of January for many of us, this is a tough meteor shower to see, but on good years with no moon, it can peak at a rate of nearly 120 meteors per hour. But don't expect that from this year's show because of the moonlight washing out the fainter meteors. The moon is always my go-to target for those of you who are new to amateur astronomy. But even for those of us that have been doing this for a few years, it's a great object to go out to see and image. Begin by going out with the naked eye just to make out the features and phases of it, and then work your way up to a small pair of binoculars or a telescope to really start to dive into the land features that our closest neighbor has to offer. The phases of the moon for January begin with a full moon on January 6th, followed by a last quarter moon on the 14th, new moon on the 21st, and first quarter phase on the 28th. Whether you're visually observing the moon or trying to take some pictures of it, the best time to go out is right after sunset between the phases of the new moon and first quarter moon. Track the changing features of the moon on a nightly basis by following the shadow across the surface of it as the terminator line changes from evening to evening, casting different levels of shadows on different features of the moon, depending on the night when you're looking at it. And if you're able to take any, I would love to see the pictures that you're taking of this object or anything in the night sky by tagging me over on Instagram at Late Night Astronomy. Nothing quite compares to your first view of a planet through a telescope. Let's take them in order this month by starting with the two that are closest to the Sun, Mercury and Venus. Both of these objects can be found in the southwest sky right after sunset. As the month goes on, Mercury will switch back to the early morning sky, but Venus will get higher and higher each day with a very close approach to Saturn on January 22nd, which should lead to some nice views and images of those two targets right near each other. Through my telescope, they'll show up in the same field of view at around 100 times magnification. We ended 2022 with our close approach to Mars, but even as we enter 2023, you can still get some really nice views of this planet, particularly earlier in the month, even though we are moving farther and farther away from it on a nightly basis. Mars makes a close approach to the moon on the nights of January 3rd and January 30th and the early morning of the 31st. Showing up in the same field of view through my telescope at 100 times and even 200 times magnification. Get your views and images of Mars early in the month because it'll become more dim and smaller as the month goes on, making land features more and more difficult to see. Jupiter and Saturn remain impressive targets in the southwest. While Jupiter can be viewed for most of the early night, especially before midnight, it's even got a close approach to the moon on January 25th. Saturn's a more difficult one, and you're really going to want to catch it early in the month because it does set earlier and earlier as the nights go on. Our two most outer planets have Uranus pass close to the moon on January 1st and January 28th, with some of you even being able to see the moon move in front of this planet in what is known as an occultation, with our farthest planet Neptune hanging out near Jupiter throughout the month. Comets are one of the most popular things to go out to see and image in amateur astronomy. They're also one of the most unpredictable. If it doesn't break apart, Comet C 2022 E3 ZTF could be one of the best comets of 2023. This comet begins as a northern hemisphere target by rising in the northeast around 2:30 a.m. in the morning. As the month goes on, it'll move higher, making it a better view each night. While it begins the month in the early morning sky, it moves quickly on a night-to-night basis and will end the month near Ursa Minor, the Little Dipper, being visible right after sunset. If all goes well, Comet ZTF should be just visible to the naked eye under dark skies by the end of January. But the best views will continue to come from binoculars and a telescope. What can you expect to see from this comet? Well, if you go outside with just the naked eye and you live under dark skies, you may be able to see a dim pinpoint of light as it makes its close approach to Earth around February 1st. For those of you with binoculars, you're going to see a cloudy, blurry, almost small snowball through the lens. And for those of you that have a telescope, you may be able to make out a tail coming out of that blurry, cloudy snowball in space. It all depends on whether this comet underperforms or overperforms expectations. And we'll be sure to come back and talk more about this for the February edition of the Night Sky, as it becomes a target for both the northern and southern hemispheres to enjoy. Deep sky objects take us beyond our solar system, and in some cases, even our own galaxy. Telescopes 6 inches and larger, along with dark skies with limited light pollution and the moon being out of the way, are going to give you the best views of many of the objects in this portion of the video. Although several of them can be viewed with a smaller telescope and even a pair of binoculars. Let's begin the month of January by going outside about 2 hours after sunset and facing towards the southeast. In this region of the sky, you will see a collection of some of the most impressive stars in our night sky. Among those are Betelgeuse and Rigel that make up the constellation Orion. Between Betelgeuse and Rigel, you'll see 3 bright stars that are Orion's belt. Moving down from Orion's belt will take you to one of the most impressive targets in the night sky, the Orion Nebula. Start with lower magnifications in your telescope to reveal the faint details of this grayish teal cloud that your eye is seeing. This nebula is one of the closest stellar nurseries to our planet and will show cloudy details through any size telescope. Even with a pair of binoculars, you can make out a gray cloud, and under very dark skies, a small blurry smudge will even show up to the naked eye. About once a year, I try to image the Orion Nebula from a dark sky location. This long exposure image reveals the details of this beautiful region of space. Along with the Orion Nebula, we have the Horsehead Nebula, M78, and Bernard's Loop. Although these other objects will be very difficult to see unless you have very large telescopes and incredibly dark skies. I've got a video covering more deep sky objects for you to go out to enjoy, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. And those are just some of the most incredible things that you can get out to see and image in the night sky for the month of January. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it and consider subscribing to this channel to join our growing community. And as always, let us know any questions that you may have and what you're planning to get out to observe and image in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for your continued support, and clear skies from Late Night Astronomy.